Bhardwaj and your team as a the official decorum, being the principal of the college. I first take this opportunity to thank Dr. Tanvi Jain, Dr. Alok, Piyush, and also a very important entry in the domain of principals, Dr. Anuradha. I'm sure that she can hear me. Thank you, Dr. Anuradha, first to be with us, and thank you so much. So kind of you have spared your precious time. But Dr. Tanvi,
I just want to add one thing, Dr. Anuradha. Today is Dr. Anuradha's birthday, and request her that you please be with us or cake.
Very happy birthday. Very happy birthday. Best wishes, best returns of the day from all of us. And thanks on behalf of the audience also. Dr. Tanvi and Dr. Alok, Piyush, thank you so much for having spared your precious time for all of us. I'm very sure that your research ideas coming from your research, your experience and your interaction with your students, and the day-to-day problems which you handle at ISI and in your university with respect to the open book examination will be very enlightening for all of us. But on the lighter side, you all three, Dr. Tanvi Jain, with the background of mathematical statistics, and Dr. Alok with the genomics and algae and plant research, etc., and Piyush with the computer science. You see, you are the one. I always take this opportunity whenever I get the time, that you are the ones who had made the life of many subjects difficult. And me being a student of economics will always, somebody asked me, I happen to be a part of an important organization of Government of India. Somebody asked me, why you people make the things difficult for all of us? I said, no, it is not we, in fact. There are many intruders in the subject of economics, and out of those, mathematicians, computer scientists, and the scientists, somebody from physics. Just 3 days before, somebody who had all along a background of physics, he was talking about the COVID-19 pandemic and the impact on the Indian economy. So on the lighter side, thank you so much once again. I'm very sure that it is always very good to work in interdisciplinary areas and enlighten the other people and contribute to the development of other subjects. And once again, Dr. Tanvi, thank you so much. Alokji, thank you so much. And Piyush, thank you so much. I still remember that many of these will not be knowing, when the computers began, it used to be a small, जैसे पोस्ट कार्ड होता है, ऐसे पीले रंग का 1 2 3 करके कार्ड आया करता था, and there used to be a big machine which was used for the computers. I still remember the computer science department of Jawaharlal Nehru University, and a part of it. Dr. Tanvi, you'll be very happy to know that my association with ISI is very old, in fact. Older to the extent of 1979, 81, 2, 3, and I had one of two of my teachers who were there, and they were there as directors and professors, and particularly your economics and statistics division. And I had a good recce of your hostels and your director's office and bungalow both. And I feel very homely when I heard about ISI. And once again, thank you so much. I'm very sure Dr. Tanvi will be taking around maybe 25, 30 minutes, maybe more than that. There's no issue. I think all the three speakers, maybe 25, 30 minutes and Piyush may take little less, because the computer scientists generally are very precise. And once again, Dr. Tanvi, please, on to you now. Dr. Tanvi, please. Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah, Dr. Tanvi, please, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And another 25-30 minutes so.
Yes. I think I'll be. I try to be brief because I want to hear other speakers very much.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Take your time. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Please.
Yeah, I'll just. Basically, I've made a few slides just that if I'm not audible, at least the audience, the participants would be able to see something and pass their time. So I'll just share the screen.
Yeah, sure.
That would be fine.
Sure.
Yeah. So now the screen is visible.
Yes, visible. It's visible.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible. Yeah.
So I would. So may I start?
Yes, sure, ma'am. Please.
Yeah. I would first like to thank Principal Sir and Dr. Bhardwaj and Dr. Gopal for this very much required initiative and giving me a chance to participate in this discussion. So, in fact, now this situation is unprecedented for, in fact, all of us, and we are all new in this game. And it is very much required that we all sit together and discuss what can be the possible problems. So, till now, we have not exactly encountered to that extent the problem of conduction of examinations. Only, I think now we are all experienced about the problems in taking the online classes, and that also it's irrespective of the university, institute, the place, all over the world. This is somewhat, to some extent or the other, it's a new experience for all of us. So let us now, as we all know, and we have been experiencing, because of this situation, we have we have been almost, in fact, I should say, we have been forced to take online classes or forced to devise some or the other innovative ideas that will work for our students and ourselves, convenient to both of us, and proper for our course, so that we can teach. So that the semester, basically, what we want to do, at least to some extent, we are able to impart that knowledge. Now, only teaching is not a part of that what we want. It's not just the only teaching and learning. This is not just that we have taken classes and everything is over. That's not basically the thing. The assessment is also a very important part of teaching and learning. And now we are facing that situation because, first of all, we have to complete our existing semester, start with the new one. And more importantly, our final year students basically have to now, they would be looking forward to get placement, to have placements, to join in companies, to join in other institutes. Probably entrance exams would have been there, so they would have been joining some master's programs or PhD programs. And for that, that's an ultimate necessity that they meet a kind of assessment. They want a degree. And not only that, so now if we say that not only that, the assessment, this whole examination system is not just to provide degrees. It's also that we learn. And assessment is very closely related to our learning process. So as we know that only option, so has to say, is left with the institutes and universities is to take open book exams. So online exams, in fact, these are not just open book exams, these are online open book exams. And because they're online exams, they are almost forced to be open book. So now so what basically I'll discuss here would be a synthesis of what we mean by classical open book exams. Classical open book exam have their own challenges, and on the top of that, these are online exams. So we will try to just discuss some points that what can be the possible challenges and how can we overcome those. Now, there are two features in open book exam that we can see that makes it different from the traditional exam, or not basically different or similar, but there are two main features that characterize this open book exam. One is that the examinees are allowed to consult any material, so study material. So now, in this present situation, they will be allowed to consult any material. Their textbooks, their class notes, or even the net. Until and unless universities basically ask them formally not to consult some specific material, till that everything is open to the examinees. But it's not just an unrestricted thing. One has time limit to it, and on the top of that, an additional anxiety of downloading and uploading the answer scripts on time. Now, as I had mentioned that exams, so now one can basically argue out, why do we need exams? We can just pass them, we have taught them, we can just pass them. But exams are not just a way to provide degrees and just to provide marks. They are also an integral part of learning. And what are exams? So what are learning objectives are? If we look at all students and teachers who are present here, I think would agree with me that it is not just that we impart some knowledge that is in library on in textbooks, and we just pass on there to their mind, and they pass on from learn something and pass their knowledge on the answer script. It's not the objective of our learning process. The objective is basically to develop their critical and analytical thinking. To, in fact, more than that, to basically make them equipped with to face challenges that will be technical, economical, and emotional challenges, and that obviously everybody will have to face in future. So now, if we come at the open book exam, if we see a positive side of it, though it's a forced thing for us, but a positive side for an open book exam is that it actually tries to meet the objectives that we have, that our learning process aims at. So now, if we are giving an open book exam, we won't expect students, and that won't be the procedure that they just learn something and vomit out on the answer scripts. Basically, they need to think, analyze, understand concepts, and that will lead again with the limited resources, with time bound, with limited resources, how much in a specific time they can, so that makes the resources limited. In limited resources, how can they handle a situation? So open book exam, again, though it's a forced thing at present situation, but can prove to be a very good opportunity as a starting point. And maybe I look forward that maybe in future, this would be the paving stone for a better learning system in our universities and institutes. So now, coming to the present day situation, we are all new to the system and obviously feel very anxious, including myself, that none of us would be very confident when we are giving exam, when we are taking exam. So in conduction of exam, administrators, faculty, or students, we won't be very confident, and all of us are anxious. All of us are worried about what will happen in the exam. Will the exam be conducted smoothly? What will happen? So let us just try to think about what are the possible challenges. So, as naturally, I'm an instructor. So, I'll first come to what instructors or faculty like us will, what will be the challenges that will be faced by the instructors. Now, we are all new to this system, and obviously, now we're used to devise a particular kind of question paper. Now, this will require something else. So, one thing is how to devise and design the questions for the open book exam. Our aim is not to basically, at the same time, it's not that we want to fail students. We want to just our aim is to act on in the what is best for the students. And at the same time, we want to have the academic integrity maintained. So that basically poses a challenge of devising questions that are apt to the level, also that will that we will meet the learning objectives that we have in mind, and at the same time keeping in mind that the present scenario, students have not got the best kind of teaching that we would have provided them in a normal time. Now, coming to the students, this thing that what I feel is, when we are talking of open book exam, there are two kinds of things. One is that, okay, this is an online exam. Students mostly would be very much worried about how will the online exam work? How will I download the question paper? How will I upload? But a very important thing that probably they may ignore, that this exam is not something that you don't need to prepare for. It's not the only thing that you just need to look for the online, that how will you do it online? How will you upload and download and all those things? There is one more very important aspect, that it's an open book exam, and the format would be not exactly as the conventional exams. So it would be different, and it's not that you are provided everything. You can just see at that time that any book and just write the questions. It won't be so simple. So a false sense of security is a very big challenge that students may pose and that students may face, and they may suffer the consequences at the time of exam. So now, and exactly one of the things that is very much talked about and that we are all worried about are the technical challenges. How the system actually, how we can have the smooth conduction of online exams. And now for this, very important and a challenging thing is that we should be, the administrator, the system, in fact, should lay down well-planned procedure that is clear to both faculty and the students. That is very, very important. And not only that, in fact, we should have, I think, some way out, some resource, like a call center, some way out where the faculty as well as the students can ask their questions, their queries can be solved. That is very important to make them confident. And this is not just for students, but also for the faculty who is going to set the questions and be an important part as a support system for the conduction of exams. So now let us take these challenges one by one very briefly. So what we have, we'll look at the from the sides of from the challenges faced by the instructor. So if we know now what we have to decide, if we know what our questions should assess, then if we are clear about those, if we just point, and that can be different for different subjects and different for different courses, different for different individuals. At the same time, they should meet our learning objectives. And what are learning? What are the expected learning outcomes at present? Now, I would say that with time, the learning outcomes, expected learning outcomes also change. At present, now in a normal time, what will I expect? I'll expect that, okay, the students should understand, should be very clear with all the concepts, and they should be able to apply their knowledge in the twisted problem as well. They should be applied, they should have some innovative ideas about the subject. But now at present, can we expect students to have that level of understanding? Probably not. So our learning outcomes, expected learning outcomes also change with time. And that we have to, that all of us as faculty members should understand that now the students have not exactly got the best of training that they would have got in a normal time. And our papers should reflect that. At the same time, they should assess. So definitely, they should assess that that what is the level of understanding of students. They should assess whether they have a critical or an analytical thinking. We aim our paper on that. We'll aim our teaching also, probably would have aimed our teaching also on that. That the students, instead of just being focused on learning something, they are more focused on understanding the concept and have their independent thinking. So if we keep what our objectives are in mind, then probably we will be able to. So now I'll give you one of my examples. So as a trial run, I gave they would test online test to my students, and I knew that obviously they are having all resources available, including net. And one of the most, I think one of the things that worried me most was a search engine and interactive websites. That if I give some question, they can just put it on Google, or just go to an interactive website, ask for a question, or so that was my major worry. Now in that case, how I made, so that's a very small example, but because I've experienced myself and seen it to be of some success, I revised the questions and tried to see myself as a student. So if I'm a student and I want to basically use some aid, so especially the websites, how will I do that? And I assured myself that it won't be that easy for anyone to search those questions on net. If I don't know anything about it, it will be exactly impossible to search for an answer to the given question. And that, in fact, the exam also turned out to be quite successful. But at the same time, the academic integrity of students is very important. And that also I saw that it is commendable that all students were very honest. And that I think comes with time. So now the time, basically, what is the demand of time? And every student also realizes that. So now coming to the students, so that is the major thing. The main point that I think many of the students would be having in mind, that we know, yes, we can see anything we like. We are at home and we have access to any material that we like. Then why should I really study about? Do I really need to study? We can just, sorry? I can, is there any question? Okay, so I can just, so now one can ask, I can just focus on how to upload, download, how to manage the system online. But I really focus on the
नाम पढ़ा था, आपको नहीं पढ़ना, मुझे पढ़ने दो.
So preparing the subject, that exactly that whether this will be this is something you really need to basically so basically you really need to prepare. And why do you need to prepare? Now this is one of the restrictions of the open book exam. I can see Dr. Gopal sent me so DU has some guidelines, and one can clearly see that there's a limited time in which you can do the exam. And if now you don't know anything about, and you are dependent on looking for every question in some textbook, in your website, or you won't be able to complete it. You won't know where to look at. If you're not prepared to locate the questions also, to locate the answers also, you'll actually have to be prepared. That is the key point that one should always keep in mind. Also, this, because they're open book exams, it won't be the conventional kind of exams. So probably in most of the cases, you won't be asked to give the theorems or proofs or just locate and copy paragraphs from some book or the other, from some text. So there you will need to apply your understanding. And therefore, one should be very careful while preparing for the course as well. Now, one thing that I'm from the beginning that I'm emphasizing on, that how to, so now that so basically how the students should prepare for the exam. Again, if we know that what are the expectations from us, what will be the question, what will be the pattern of the question paper, and that I think is the right of the students, and they should actually, so they should interact with their and they would be interacting with their instructors, and they should be, because it's very new to them, they should be informed about the exact pattern of the question paper. And not only that, also the expectations, what are the expectations of the instructors, that or what will be expected from them in a particular course, so that they can strategize their preparation accordingly. Also, now in that case, that preparing, so one positive thing as well as a negative thing about open book exam is that you can consult notes. So now if you don't know your notes, if you don't know what is there in the book, if you don't know what is there, what your course says, it will be absolutely impossible to consult anything that you want. So you should be thorough with what you want to consult. So if you want to consult some textbook, you should be thorough with the textbook. If you are planning to consult your notes, you should be thorough with your notes. Even if you want to consult that, I think that's a very bad idea. That if you think that you will search, if you look for Google search engines and all those things, one thing is that as I ensured, the teachers will definitely ensure that you don't get that easily the answers to the questions from Google. And also at the same time, everyone has their own notations and pre-assumptions. And in a short time, when you have a limited time, it's very difficult to verify that all assumptions that you have in your paper, that you are going with, all notations, they're the same. So anything, consulting anything new can prove to be a disaster. So you should be thorough with your whatever you want to, whatever memory you want to have when you consult, you should be thorough with that. Now the second thing comes that I'm saying that you should be thorough with memory aid. Now student can ask, what exactly, how will I prepare my notes? How will I prepare my memory aid? So what should be? So let us just try to see that what should be the key features. Obviously, every student, this is a general thing, but every student would have their own devices and means. And that's the best for, if they're thinking about it, they'll come out with the best thing that works for that individual. But if we talk of a general situation, so some of the key points that one can have is you should prepare good study notes. If you're preparing your notes, know outside and inside of those notes. And that would be very quick. And you make your...
Excuse me, sir, एक question है.
Sorry? Any question? So,
we'll take the questions later, please.
Please go ahead.
Dr. Tanvi, please continue. We'll take up the question until later. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So if one should have the study notes, what basically, how will you start? How do you prepare your study notes? Now, exactly that the student should be clear about what is expected in the course. And that depends on different subjects and different courses. Even in mathematics, different courses in mathematics will have different expectations. A theoretical mathematics subject will have different expectations than an applied mathematics subject. So it will differ from subject to subject and within a subject, within an area, from course to course. So you should be clear when you're if you're preparing course X. You should be clear that what are the expectations. Are you expected to understand concepts, only concepts, or you have to solve problems? What kind of problems, to what difficulty level are you expected? So you should be clear about and start preparing your notes accordingly. Also, you should identify from which material you should prepare. So your teachers, if they have given some class notes, if they have specified a textbook, they would have given some tutorials, some questions. These will be the minimum that you should prepare. Also, your notes should be very well organized, because in a span of 2 hours, you have to basically consult them. And they should be very well organized. And unorganized notes, just a bundle of papers kept besides you, won't help you with. And so how can you organize? First is a very thought, well-planned organization. And now for a quick reference, what you can do, you can make charts. You can make just like the flow charts that you would have made in schools, flow charts or tables, or just use index cards that you know that, okay, you want to refer to some term. You can just have an index kind of thing and go there and just see what is the term. So these should be well prepared and thought over. And this is the time when you have to. I think your exams, there is 1 month at least for the exams. So this is a time that you should actually think over that. Now coming to the next thing, the very important thing, the technical challenges. And now here comes to basically it's very nice, very thoughtful of the organizers. They've called Dr. Piyush to help you out in this. But a few points that I'll just put up here. So now basically see, if you're planning for the online exam, a very important and a worrisome part for from the point of view of students is, I have to download question paper and I have to upload, and that should be on time. So what my personal individual opinion and suggestions would be that, see, if you're giving an exam, a 2-hour exam, the answer scripts, there will be many papers. There will be many A4 size sheets. You should be very well organized that at the end, you're not collecting those papers and arranging them. So you should write with a very clear pen so that the student, when you take a photograph, it should be very clear so that the examiner is able to read that. And that you'll have to decide that which pen to use, how to organize that. And those should be, those you cannot basically change pens at the time of when you're giving exam. These have to be decided, and a very low quality photograph with very very light print on it, that will basically defeat your cause. The second thing is, when you have a set 2 hour exam, the file, after scanning, after taking photograph, the PDF file probably can be of a big size. So you should just try to upload on a website. Just try to upload on your Gmail account. That how much time will it take? Certainly on the university portal, because at that time there would be many people who would be trying to upload. The time taken would be much more than that. At least, but at least you'll have some idea that your file is that much, that will be that much big, and you'll have to basically it would take. Also, you know best what is the quality of the net at your place. So so uploading time will also vary with that. If you want, and if your things are not good, so then you'll have to contact the university people or some. So those things will have to be done in advance. The other thing that I was seeing, that university is giving a very good opportunity of mock exam. But one thing that I see is it's just 1 week before. So now you should not just start. So basically what I'm saying is that, okay, you'll make the PDF file and try to upload it. That you should do much in advance. Because now just 1 week before, if all students give mock exam and then they start posting their problems, probably university won't be able to handle those many problems just in 1 week. So therefore, you should not just wait for the mock exams, though they are very, very important and you should take them seriously. But you should not wait for them to basically plan out your resources and whatever is available, what do you need, what is missing. So these should be planned before the mock exam. So mock exam would be exactly what you have planned is working out or not. That will be testing, the mock exam will be testing. Okay. And the next thing that one should actually, I think, should be addressed is that many a times when we are invigilating, when we are actually in the conventional exam, so they are invigilators. And many a times, many students have questions or queries on the question paper. So there should be a mean how the students will actually contact someone so that for their queries in between the exam. Now, if you expect that, okay, all the students should basically contact the college, and who is, so personally I feel that if I'm given that, okay, this individual you have to contact, I will be more confident because I know that there's some existence of that individual. But if I'm given that, okay, this is the office phone number and you contact that, I don't know who is there on the office phone number and whether he'll understand or she'll understand what I am saying. What is my problem? So what I feel is that, like we have the invigilators in the physical exam, we should assign a chunk of like 30 or 20 students to different faculty members, and the students should be given their contacts, that they can contact that individual, and that individual will in turn then contact the authority or whatever it is required. That individual will contact. And at the same time, the faculties also should have a clear idea in that case that where to contact, what to do. They should be given a proper training kind of thing, that how to manage that kind of emergency. So this, I think, should be addressed. Yes.
And can we please conclude now?
Yes. So this, and so now exactly we have come to the concluding remarks. So now we all realize that this is very, very challenging for the whole academic system. But at the same time, the the foremost priority is the interest of students, and we should make our system flexible as well as accommodative so that we meet our goals. So I'll conclude here, and thanks for the attention, and thanks to the organizers.
Dr. Tanvi, thank you so much. Very, very interesting, very, very comprehensive, and incidentally, it does not look like a theoretical exposition of ideas on open book. It was actually a dealing with the kind of actual problems the students, teachers, and the technical side will be facing. And I am very sure that the issues which you have raised, the 4 or 5, one very important issue which you talked about, that how the COVID-19 pandemic has imposed this kind of choice and on us, which is little forced. But also there is a silver lining, that and the silver lining is that this crisis has also brought an opportunity. Now this opportunity of open back, and there's something, the second most important thing which comes out of your presentation was that assessment cannot be divorced from the teaching. And since the basic idea is not only to look at the question and answers, but basic also is to create the creative knowledge, and the student have to be enabled to to create further knowledge, to add to the knowledge economy. I think that's a very wonderful idea behind the open book system. And the third very important part, which I could sense, and you have brought it very, very clearly and cleanly, and that is that the kind of challenges with the teacher will be facing, the kind of challenge the student will be. But after all, you always give a solution in terms of that. It's basically a question of mindset change. And this mindset change has to be introduced at all levels, particularly in the larger interests of the students, and also to seize the opportunity out of this crisis. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And now I request Dr. Alok Arun to be, Dr. Alok, just to be on the lighter side. I know your genomics and our genome are very, very different. I gave you a small example. I was looking at one of the science journals, and it was saying that the Chinese are probably creating a kind of DNAs which can be mixed with this kind of research, and you can have a child of your choice later on, probably down the line, 15 years time or so. That's one. The second thing, I experiment on 2 fronts. One is in the kitchen, and I can understand, and which you, I'm sure, will vouch, that it's a very difficult, and normally you get hit back. The second is a little bit of the plants, and I don't know if what is the botanical name. The one very important plant, which is Sadabahar, it has a white and purple color. So we created something, and it was neither purple nor white. And just on the lighter side, making that, I am sure that your science will make the things simpler for all of us, particularly when we look at the open book examination. And thank you so much once again. Please take on.
Well, thank you so much, sir, for this informative session. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, very nice. Please go ahead.
So first of all, I would like to answer your questions related to the first question that you asked, if it is possible that China can produce something unimaginable. Well, I think we all know the answer. China can do anything, sir. So we just have to wait for a few years to see the result. The second question that you mentioned was that you created a fusion product between 2 plant species. So I think that's quite possible. And I can see that you're very fond of plants, because on the screen I can see 2 plants behind your desk. So I really like people who love plants. So what I will do is I'm just going to quickly upload my presentation. So I will just quickly do a
yeah, sure.
I will just quickly see if you can see my presentation. So can you see my presentation now?
Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so Dr. Tanvi Jain gave a very wonderful understanding of what open book examinations are and what are the challenges that are currently being faced by not only by the students but also by the faculty. So before going ahead into my topic, I would first like to thank to the entire organizing team. I know it takes a lot of efforts to organize such kind of events, especially in these stressful times. So first of all, of course, I'd like to thank Dr. G.K. Arora, who is the principal, sir, for actually encouraging your faculty members to organize such kind of events. I would also like to thank Dr. Sarla Bhardwaj, who is the convener of this webinar series, for allowing me to speak on my ideas to the students and the faculty who are participating in here. In particular, I would also like to thank Dr. Venugopal, who also has been my hostel senior, and I have known him for quite a long time. And I want to thank him for inviting me. I just want to share one lighter note that when he invited me for a talk, I was almost ready to say no because he's from mathematics, and right now I'm not very strong in mathematics. I was surprised, but then when I came to know about the title, I was very motivated to go ahead and speak on that. And of course, there's a lot of staff people who are working behind the scenes to make this webinar successful. So I would also like to thank them. And of course, the audience who are there devoting their precious time. And I just heard that one of our faculty members, Dr. Anuradha Gupta, has her birthday. So happy birthday, ma'am. So my talk is going to focus on a couple of issues. And I hope that by end of this talk, you should be familiar with what is an open book examination. Although Dr. Tanvi Jain has already informed you about the finer nuances of open book examination. But I will also focus on the fact that why we need to conduct these open book examinations. And then I will tell you what are the two different methods of conducting these open book exam. And then of course we are in the challenging times, so I will also like to throw some points on what are the key challenges that we are facing. And then during these time, one of the things that we definitely need to look forward to are the alternative options that we have for these open book examination, either alternatives or within alternatives that exist within these open book examination system. And if none of these points are able to convince you about the significance of the open book examination, I would like you to go and see my wonderful movie, Three Idiots, which was the first film that I think I remember introduced the concept of open book exam in a broader sense. So anyways, first I would like to tell you about myself. I mean, Dr. Venugopal has done an exemplary job in describing my portfolio, and thank you, Dr. Gopal, for that. But still, I would like to quickly go through my course of journey. And the idea here is not to tell you how much educated I am, but the idea here is to tell you how much time it took for me to get introduced to the concept of open book examination. So for example, I started in 2000 and I finished my class 12th examination, which were paper-based exam. Then I went to Hindu college and I finished my bachelor's in botany, where again, I was only introduced to the paper book exam. I remember one of my mentors, and I would like to mention him here, Dr. Kuldeep Kaul, who is still a professor in Hindu college. He tried to motivate us to think. But at that time, you are young and you don't want to think. All you want to do is to remember the contents. But thankfully, the insights that was provided by him, I could still be in the line of research 20 years down the line. And then the journey continues, and you will survive.
Your voice is getting dropped, sir.
Hello, Alok?
Alok, sir, your voice is getting dropped.
Alok, sir, I think there's some internet connectivity issue in your system. Just check.
Sort of evaluating those exams. So why does it take so much time for us to understand the significance of these open book exams? Did it take a virus to make us understand that open book exams are so important? And throughout my presentation, I'm just going to tell you what are the advantages, what are the pitfalls of this exam, and how under these stressful conditions, not only students, but faculty can also try to cope up with such exams. So let us try to first understand what exactly is an open book examination. So of course, Tanvi has already given you a very detailed information about open book examination, but let us try to understand from here. I'm sure a lot of you have studied this book, Concept of Physics by H.C. Verma. Now, when I was in class 12th, if you could answer 70% of the questions of this book, you would be directly getting into IITG. This was the assumption. So if you're not able to solve, let's say 34, not more than 50%, then your chances of getting into IITG was very less. Now, when I look back, I think this was the first time that a concept of understanding of the subject was introduced by H.C. Verma in his physics book. So when you talk about understanding, whenever we are in a classroom, there's always a coordination that is established between a faculty. Let's say I'm trying to show you a faculty here and a student here. Now, in most of the cases, what happens is that the education that a faculty is providing is unidirectional. So if there's a unidirectional flow of information, then there is a lot of teaching, right? But if you just try to involve the students also, and let us try to have an atmosphere in which there is a bidirectional interaction of the faculty and the students. Now, that way what happens is that the student starts to learn. So what I wanted to say here was that there's a very strong correlation between teaching and learning. Now here, when I say learning is done by a student and teaching is done by a faculty. Now, most of the time in most of the institutions, there is a lot of teaching. But when you look at the level of learning, this pulley is very imbalanced. So if the teaching and the learning is balanced, then the student can take any form of exam at any period of time. But if this balance that you see here between teaching and learning is disturbed, then in that case, what happens is that the student is not ready to take all the different kinds of exam. For example, if there is more teaching compared to learning, then the students are forced to take selected form of exam. When there's more learning compared to teaching, then again, the students are forced to take some selected sort of examination. Now, I just want to share a screenshot of this wonderful movie, 3 Idiots. I'm pretty sure some of you might remember when this professor asks the definition of a machine, right? Now, the actor, Amir Khan, he gives a very wonderful definition. And then when Amir Khan is giving the definition, the learning certainly is more than the teaching. But when another actor, I do not remember his name, when he is giving the information and the definition of a machine, there's more of a teaching compared to learning. So the balance between teaching and learning can help you to really decide what kind of examination you want to give to students. Now, as far as the traditional definition of an open book examination is concerned, I just took this definition from the University of Newcastle, Australia, Open Book Examination Guideline book, which says an open book examination is an assessment method that is designed in a way that allows students to refer to either class notes or they can utilize their memory aid. Now, here's the key concept. When you're saying memory aid, that basically means the learning aid that the student has developed, okay? But as far as the textbook is concerned, then it means it's more teaching-based knowledge. An open book exam, it can also mean that students can provide with the are provided with the examination questions before they sit for the formal exam, okay? Sometimes these open book examinations are also reclassified as take-home exam. Now, these kind of exams are very common in subjects like law, finance, even in India, okay? But in other subjects, like, for example, Tanvi was mentioning, it might be a challenge to devise questions in mathematics, for example. And I agree to that, because you have to develop a concept based on how the exam is going to be executed. So then I come to the second part of this presentation, where I'm going to explain why these examinations are conducted. So one of an eminent linguists from India, K.P. Mohanan, who is a faculty in IISER Pune, he has written a wonderful paper on emphasizing the learning process during the open book examination. But as Tanvi also mentioned, that these kind of examinations basically help students to have a very high order thinking skills and develop those thinking skills into, or rather transform those thinking skills into their answers. The thing behind these open book exams are that they're basically trying to assess your skills of problem solving and critical thinking. Now let us try to understand this with one very common example. Now, if I'm going to ask you a question, how many, I think everybody has a fan, a ceiling fan in their house. And if I ask you, how many blades do you see in a fan, in a ceiling fan? Most of the students will answer 3, because that is what you're used to. That is what you are visualizing in your mind when the first question comes into your mind. Then the second, but the thing is that if you try to develop more learning skills and you try to go and find out, are all the ceiling fans that is made across the world only have 3 blades? You will find out that no, there are many countries in which we have close to 5 blades. So here, in addition to the traditional teaching, you are now going into a learning process in which you are going to understand that how many blades a fan has. So now just imagine if you're going to frame a question on this simple topic to a student, how many blades does a fan has? Then of course most of the answer would be 3. So we need to make our students exposed to a lot of different resources of education. But these are all technical questions. These are the questions that might come in a paper-based exam. In an open book exam, what I would like to ask a student is, do you remember what is the orientation or the direction of the blades in which the fan is moving? Does it move clockwise or does it move anti-clockwise? And you will be amazed to know that depending on the brand, depending on the weather, the ceiling fan can move in either clockwise direction or anti-clockwise direction. So the question could be, why this rotation is happening in one particular direction? Now, to answer this question, you really need to have a concept-based clarity of the education that you're getting on fan. Recently, I was reading a small news on Facebook someone has shared, in which a mother tore the electrical engineering degree of a student because of his son actually, because he could not fix the ceiling fan in his own house. So that is one example that tells you the significance of having open book examinations. If you look into the other reasons why we conduct these open book exams, the first reason that come into your mind is the extraordinary circumstances. For example, right now we're in a pandemic, and this can contribute to an extraordinary circumstance. Second, we have to understand that different students have different mental capabilities and capacities. So for some, this exam, an open book exam, can be less stressful than sitting in a closed room for 3 hours, for example. So these exams are also conducted worldwide to ease the pressure on the student. For example, we have one student in our program who never takes exam with other students because she gets intimidated by the presence of a lot of people. This could be a psychological problem, but then these open book exams come handy because she can very easily address her exam using a very less intense and less stressful environment of the exam. The third thing is that these kind of exams help you to prepare for the real world situation, right? A lot of people, for example, we are in biology field and we always read about drugs. But when it comes to actually developing a drug, how many of we can jump into that? The next point which is advantages or why we conduct these kind of exam is that it basically entails a greater engagement, and it also improves the understanding of the course content. What I mean by that is that if you are taking an open book exam, you tend to ask a lot of questions to your instructor. So that way you engage more with your instructors compared to if it is only a one unidirectional way of learning. The next and the last point why we plan to, or why we do open book exams, is that it definitely promotes a high order learning. And high order learning does not mean high grades. It basically means understanding the finer nuances of the subject. And just to give you a very raw example, right now we are in a pandemic situation, and one of the first things that we need is the ventilator systems for the hospitals. And a lot of IIT institutes have come forward to literally synthesize low-cost ventilators, which we were always importing from other countries. So if you have this kind of knowledge background where you understand your subject very precisely, you can definitely develop a technology. So before going ahead, I would just like to emphasize you what exactly is being done in an open book examination. So to make you understand that I'm taking a model from one of the prominent education person from the United States. His name is Benjamin Samuel Bloom, and he basically gave a model in which he emphasized that in the process of learning, there are 6 cognitive levels. And if all of these 6 cognitive levels are not addressed properly, then it means that learning is not happening. So for example, if you look at the level 1 basically entails to remembering, which most of us are used to. For example, we just memorize the slides, we just memorize the information that is given in the book. How many of we literally go to level 2? And level 2 is the understanding of the subject, right? For example, if you let us say you know the protocol of something, you go into the lab and you just execute that protocol. That is just remembering. But if you understand that protocol, perhaps you can devise your own protocol that could be shorter and can need less material, for example. Then the level 3 is applying the knowledge that you have learned so far. And then level 4 is analyzing, and the level goes on. And the topmost level is the level of the creativity. Okay, so if you are really learning what you are imbibing, you can create something that could be phenomenal. Now I'm going to just take 2 examples because I know this could be a complex graph for you to understand. So I'm just going to take 2 examples. The first example is, now we all have kids, for example. I mean, not the students, but most of the faculty members have kids. So when we want our kid to learn a language, what we do first, we start with teaching the kids the letters of the alphabet through completely rote learning, which is called remembering. And then what we do is we help them to learn how words, for example, their names are constructed by combining letter, and that is understanding. Then we ask them to use these letter of alphabets to write the words that they see, for example. And then it goes on, and at the level of creating, what we do is the learners construct simple pieces of communication from the words and the phrases that we learn. So if you look at if a kid who's like, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 years of age, I can assure you that he has a very better understanding of the things that he is learning compared to we adults, where we just restrict ourselves to certain closed boxes. Now, if you look at I'm a biology student, so if you look at a biology application of this model, what you will see is that at the level of remembering, we only learn, for example, what are the scientific parts of the flowering plant using a diagram. But if you understand this, we can actually try to understand why these different parts of the plants are important and how does that function. And if you understand all these different components of this hierarchy, you can actually create a vegetable garden of your own. Now, just ask yourself, how many biology students, or let's say plant biology students, you have seen who are interested in developing an entrepreneur based on vegetables, for example? Because we never try to understand the significance of the knowledge that exists in our human mind. So now moving on to the different methods that exist for these open book exam, and I think this is from where this gets more interesting for the faculty and the students. There are basically two different kinds of open book exams. The first one is called the restricted type open book exams, and the second one is called the unrestricted type of open book exams. Now, when you look at the restricted type of open book exams, this is more like a closed exam. There's something very, very similar to a paper-based exam, where students can bring into examination room one or more specified documents, or one or more specific documents that is approved by the course instructor. And when I refer to this room can usually refer to your house, or this room can refer to a very specialized location in a university setup, for example. The students are allowed to consult printed documents, for example, the logarithmic tables, dictionaries, or complete work of course content. However, in the restricted type of exam, open book exams, nobody is allowed to bring handwritten material or printed documents which do not have the prior approval. But the most important part of the restricted type of open book exam is that the faculty is allowed to ask content-based questions. For example, you can ask a student, define Ohm's law and how you can apply the Ohm's law in any practical situation. But when you look into the unrestricted type of open book exams, students can literally bring whatever they like in a paper format. The students can also be allowed to bring their own handwritten notes. And this is something that Tanvi was emphasizing, that when you are preparing for the examination, you should write notes, and those notes could be handy for you during your examination. For example, she was mentioning to you, you can use an appendix card, which can quickly help you to get to the information that you are looking forward to. These unrestricted type of open book exam, which I think you're going to have, is it provides more liberty to the access of content, but it needs a lot of critical thinking skills in the students. And one of the most important feature of these unrestricted type of open book exams is that you're not allowed to ask, the faculty, is not allowed to ask a content-based question. That means that here, the student definitely needs a critical thinking skills, meaning thinking out of the box, like how I can apply this information in a practical scenario. Usually these unrestricted type of open book exams could be either a traditional sit-down method exam, where you sit on a computer, you are given a proper amount of time and you finish that, or you can take them home, meaning your faculty sends your examination by email, and then you can sit on that exam for, let's say, 7 days, and after 7 days you can submit the answers. So it could be both the system, and we here in our university at least use both these systems. So now let's come to the challenges that we as a faculty or you as a student might face during this exam. Now, when I look at the challenges, I first want to address the challenges that we see from the student perspective. Now, before I explain this figure, when is the last time when you saw this model of answering question, when in your examination paper you say answer any 5 question? Now, if you're used to this kind of model system, then let me tell you, it is going to be very challenging for a student or for a faculty to evaluate a student, right? Because the first thing that the student needs to take these kind of exam is the understanding of the subject, right? And when I say understanding of the subject, meaning, for example, you are eating an apple, and then you know this is an apple. That's a basic learning. But are more questions coming into your mind? Why is apple round in shape? Why cannot be it flat? Why this apple tastes sweet? Can it taste sour? So I'm just trying to give you some simple examples where you could really try to think and try to improve your critical analysis skills, And that is the second point that I wanted to emphasize. When was the last time you thought that you were thinking, right? Because different countries have different education system, and most of the country have this education system where, for example, we are not allowed to ask questions in a classroom, right? That could be because of multiple reasons. Perhaps the classroom is big in size and there's limited amount of time, so the faculty cannot, of course, address all the questions of the students. But then, When was the last time you were asking a question to your parents, for example? When was the last time you were asking a solid question to your politician, for example, to your society? Now, all of this basically contributes to the critical thinking skills. Now, critical thinking skill cannot come to you at the level of college or at the level of let's say, when you're a faculty. It has to be imbibed from the very, very beginning when the child starts to learn the cognitive skills, right? That doesn't mean that the students who are now going to take the exam cannot do that, right? You have to work harder to develop those skills. The third thing that the students will face challenges is related to the accessibility to the information. Now the student is confused. What exactly should I read? Where should I read it from? Should I read it from the books? Should I read it from the internet, which half of the time is full of crap? Or should I rely on the textbooks that are with me? So these things are a big challenge for the students. So it's the role of the faculty to define what information is going to be accessible to them for their examination. Of course, the next important thing that nobody talks about is the motivation and the stress. Maybe some students are very motivated to take these kinds of exams because they provide more open environment, but majority of the students are going to be very stressed. And the way we handle stress in a lot of countries is especially at the student level, is not very healthy for the students, right? So we have to evolve some system where we could address the stress capacities of the students, right? The second last thing I would like to focus here as a challenge for the student is the financial burden. Now, of course, when a student we assume that all the students have access to equal resources, but we have to understand that not all the students come from a same financial background. And now if in these times you're asking a student who is, let's say, coming from a very low income strata to have an internet in his home and have a computer that can provide high-speed internet, that is going to be a financial burden during these times. Now, you might ask this question to me, well, everybody has a mobile phone. Yeah, of course, everybody has a mobile phone, but that does not equate to the knowledge or to the stress that these students are going to be introduced to. Now, most of us like movies and we like to go cinema. Why we like to go cinema? Because that provides a very relaxed environment. Now, if tomorrow I'm going to tell to my students that please go to PVR Satyam and tomorrow you will have your exam on the big screen, I don't think many of the students are going to buy popcorn and Coca-Cola and then go and sit in the screen, in the theater. Why? Because the setup that you are providing is very different, okay? So we have to understand that also. And the last point I want to discuss, which I think Tanvi already mentioned, was the availability of the technology, including the internet, okay? Now, we assume that everybody has high-speed internet, so I think there has to be some roadmap to assess how these internet connections are available to the students. And if under any circumstances, this internet connection is not available to the students, what are the alternatives to those students, okay? But the challenges are not only at the student level. There's a big challenge at the level of the faculty also. And the first challenge I see is setting the questions. Now, we faculty are used into the habit of randomly writing a couple of questions, and then we will judge those questions in the written part of the in the written part of the examination sheet. But then now the faculty, if he has not been introduced to this open book examination, is suddenly introduced to the concept of this, and now they have to set the questions. Let me tell you that faculty is equally stressed as a student, because setting the question is going to be a challenge. Then evaluating the question. How are you going to evaluate the question? Meaning, well, I think that there's a mistake here. Evaluating the answer, I mean, okay? How are you going to evaluate the answer? Many of the faculty members have this tendency to evaluate the answer based on the number of pages you write. But in open book examination, you can write one line of answer that basically integrates everything that you wanted to say. So then what is going to be the guideline for evaluating those questions? The third thing is that we as a faculty are so busy in so many works. In addition to the teaching, we have a lot of administrative works, we have a lot of project writing, and then many a times we are disconnected from reading the things that is happening in today's world. Now, if you are disconnected from that, that means that we are going to develop a set of questions which are not up to date. So that means that you will not be able to judge the intellectual capacity or the critical writing capacity of a student. The third is, the fourth challenge that I see by a faculty is the number of the students that they have to evaluate. Now, if these questions, any of these answers are sent to them by email, can you imagine the cognitive internet load that these faculty are going to have when they have to evaluate the answers? So that also has to be addressed properly. Are these faculties going to create a rubric for evaluating and setting up of the questions? That is something that also needs to be addressed. I think, for example, I really find it very easy if you can provide a student before asking question, a set of rubrics. And rubrics here, basically, I'm sure you know it, but for those who don't know it, it basically means a set of guidelines, okay? So let's say a set of things from where the questions are going to be asked and how are you going to be evaluated. And the third thing is like students, some of the faculty might be motivated, but majority of the faculty are anxious. How are we going to take this exam? So all these are the challenges that is currently in the mindset of the faculty. But let me tell you, the student and the faculty are not the only ones that are impacted by this. There is a third section. Yes.
I hope let's conclude if you don't mind, please.
Sure.
Can you? Yeah.
So I think I'll just take 5 more minutes if I'm allowed.
Yeah, no issue. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, sir. So the third challenge that is being faced is by the IT department, and they have these different challenges, some of which were mentioned by Tanvi. Let's say, how are we going to monitor these exams? How we are going to handle the incoming answer sheets through lots of emails and coordination efforts. So in summary, what we can see is that all the challenges can be precisely summarized into lack of the analytical ability in some of our students, lack of communication skill. Most of our students have a very nice writing ability, but can those writing ability be translated on the internet medium? That is something also that we need to learn. I'm quite amazed to know that All India Council for Technical Education in 2018, they issued a guideline to all the universities where they emphasize on the fact that no more than 40% of the questions should be based on the knowledge. It should be more, most of the questions should be based on the critical information. So let us say, what we can do, for example, to overcome these challenges. So in my opinion, for example, we should limit the syllabus to certain sections, and for the examination, and the faculty have to meet to make sure that the syllabus is not the complete syllabus that we are going to ask. We should definitely conduct pre-trials of the examination. Under these conditions, we have to be prepared for giving students a retest in case if he is not able to do good in his examination. In my personal opinion, I think during these time, it would be nice to, for example, to have an integration of 60-40 ratio. For example, whatever the candidate scores in the open book examination during these time should have a 40% weightage, and the 60% weightage should be from the previous examinations that has already been done. We should not try to put a lot of expectation load on the students. The students are already very stressed, and I'm pretty sure that the students are preparing for it. The last point here is that we should be able, if possible, to have a floating date of examination system where different examinations can be conducted on different dates for different sections of students so that there's no data overload. This is, I think, my second last slide. I just wanted to let the students know, for example, in the concept of open book examination in the University of Oxford 2020 plan is that if your paper-based exam is for 3 hours, then an open book exam is generally increased by 1 hour. And if you're providing resources, then that could also go to 5 hours. So it means that compared to the traditional paper-based exam, the students have more time in the open book examination. So last but not the least, what do we see as the alternatives to these open book exam? Well, for example, for For research-based courses, you could just give a student a research paper and you could try to evaluate that. In many universities, they ask students not to take the exams, but go and attend seminars, conferences, and workshops, and try to summarize the learning outcomes of those events, and that is evaluated. In many places, including our university, what we do is we take a paper-based question and we give the student 5 days to answer that question. And once the answer reaches to us, then we try to have a meeting, either online or offline, and then try to evaluate the skills, critical skills of the student. And of course, there needs to be an intensive pre-planning and the training to the students so that the students can be prepared to think out of the box. The thing is, the take-home message from all of this information that I have shown you here is that assessment is driving learning, and this Tanvi also mentioned. So what and how student learns actually depends to a major extent on how they think they will be assessed. So in conclusion, I personally believe that open book examinations are going to be the future, because in my personal opinion, as a biology student, I think these exams are environment friendly, so you do not have to use a lot of paper, but of course it needs a careful preparation and planning. There are a lot of teacher versus student issues, and over the coming period of time, I'm sure the educational institutes will draft proper guidelines for that. But nevertheless, our focus should always be that we as a faculty and our students should always try to think out of the box. And I also think that these kind of examinations, they teach you patience, they teach you management skills, and they also prepare you for the future. Now, I had removed all the technical parts that I was thinking of including in my presentation, because I came to know that the next speaker who is coming after me is going to include all the technical information. So with this, thank you very much for your attention, and I would be happy to have any questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alok. Thank you so much. In fact, such a wonderful presentation indeed, and it supplemented to a very large extent what Dr. Tanvi was talking about. But 2, 3, 4 highlights just as a quick caveat. We all have to get into the making of that mindset. Both as a student and as a teacher is very, very important, and it has to be supplemented with the digital tools efficiency, connectivity, resources, etc. I think that's some of the most important points, and the highlighted one was the students' levels. This reminds me, we don't have that kind of system in the higher education, but at the school level education, which is very, very important and prominent point, and that is that when the All India educational surveys are conducted at the school level, they also check the quality of the education, and it was found out that the class 9th students, they were not even positioned to answer the simple arithmetic of class 4. And even the English level was pretty bad. We don't have that, but these are the kind of things which will be very, very important and prominent and visible and tangible at the level of higher education. But see, the point which is very well highlighted, that is that how to move from rote learning to the cognitive learning, and further adding to the creation of knowledge, and that requires a research component as a very, very important component. I think the a number of other thoughts, the stress level, the accessibility, and the last one, the ratio, 60-40 ratio putting together. I think if one looks very carefully, Delhi University's guidelines, which have come just 2-3 days before, they make it very, very clear that all those, I think to a large extent, all those points which you're talking about, not to the same intensity and gravity, but to a very large extent, they cover those areas. Then the students will be given the option to submit their material later on if somehow they fail to do it. That these are the things are there. But anyway, thank you so much for making such a wonderful presentation. Now I request Piyush Bhardwaj to make the presentation very quickly, maybe more in terms of the important conclusions. Piyush ji. Piyush, welcome.
Yes, sir, of course. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, Dr. G.K. Arora, Dr. Sarla Bhardwaj, and Dr. Venugopal for giving me this opportunity to present myself. So I'll just quickly present you a few technical concepts which we can undergo. I'll just share a simple PPT and then, yeah. So first of all the why open book examination have been already discussed by Dr. Alok and Dr. Tanvi, and they have given ample examples of how to perform these, how to learn through these open book examinations. Now what I'll do is I'll talk about technical challenges which we face during an open book examination. First of all, most of you might be thinking how to download the admit card. So as Professor G.K. Arora said that University of Delhi have issued certain guidelines just 2-3 days back, and if you go through those guidelines, you'll get to know that those admit card will be available on the university portal, and you can download these this admit card from the university portal few days before the examination. Now, second most important part, the internet connectivity issues. Now, let us take it step by step. First, you might have Wi-Fi at your home. Secondly, if you don't have Wi-Fi at your home, then you can have 4G at your home. Thirdly, if you don't have 4G at your home, then
Sir, your voice is dropped because you have disabled the Bluetooth.
Please unmute your phone. Unmute. This is mute.
User is using the Bluetooth. Bluetooth device is off.
Is off. Yeah, kindly. Okay. Just fine.
We can't hear. We can't hear. Your phone is mute. Unmute your.
am I audible
Yes,
now?
now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what we'll just continue with the presentation. So the main part is internet connectivity issues, which most of you might face. First of all, many of the students might have Wi-Fi at their home. So the Wi-Fi part can actually overcome your internet connectivity issues. You can download your question paper through your Wi-Fi. Now let's suppose you don't have Wi-Fi at your home, then you can have 4G internet connection in your mobile phone. Except for Jammu and Kashmir, the whole of India have a very good 4G connectivity right now, and you can just recharge your phone for an internet pack, and you can download your papers from the university portal, and you can start your paper. Even if you don't have these two options, you can go to your nearest common service center. For that, you can download the list from Ministry of Electronics and Affairs, and from that website you can get the address of the nearest CSC center of your home, from your home. So what they'll do is they'll provide you internet connection. Secondly, they'll provide you a computer. Thirdly, they'll provide you a printer through which you can take a printout of your question paper. If you want to give your paper over there only, they'll provide you a space where you can write your paper, and after finishing your paper, you can scan your paper from their scanner only, and then you can upload your paper on the university portal. So this is the common service center option which university has already talked to all the common service centers in India. And if you have any internet connectivity issues at your home, then you can very easily go to the nearest common service center and do your exam. Now, how to download the question paper? The question paper will be available at the time of paper only. Whenever you have your exam scheduled for the date sheet, I think 1 hour before to the exam, or maybe half an hour, university will send you the guidelines. So by that time, you'll get the question paper on the portal, and from there you can download the question paper. What I would suggest is you should make at least 20 to 30 pages, bundle of 20 to 30 pages in which you write your name, your roll number, the subject name and the subject code. and the serial number on the pages, so that you don't have to waste your time while you're writing your exams. So when you have done this, you just have to download the question paper and read the questions and start writing your paper. Now after you have finished your paper, now the most tricky part comes: how to scan your paper and make a PDF of the same. I know most of you will be aware of how to scan your paper through a mobile phone, but many of us might not be knowing about this fact that we can scan our paper through our mobile phone only, and we can make a PDF also and save it in our phone, or we can even email it, or we can upload it to the university portal directly from our mobile phone only. So I have made a small video through which you can understand how you can download the scanning app, scan the paper, and then convert this scanned paper into a PDF file so that you can upload it to the university portal. So I'll just play this video. After playing this video, hopefully you'll be able to understand the steps which you can use for making a PDF and scanning your paper. So first of all, you need to go to the Play Store. I'll just play the video. This is the Play Store. You just have to search for an app known as Cam Scanner. So whenever we start writing Cam Scanner, you can see this Cam Scanner option is coming on its own. So we have to click on this Cam Scanner option, and whenever we click on this Cam Scanner option, we'll get this option. We'll get many softwares, but this is the most trustable and most used software throughout India, Cam Scanner. So you can use this software. What you need to do is you just have to click on this install button. Whenever you click on this install button, your phone will download this file, and then after downloading, it will automatically install the software in your phone. So once the file is downloading, it might take 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, depending on your internet connectivity speed. So see, you can see it is installing now, and once it has installed, we'll get a new button over here which says open. So whenever you get this button open, click on that button open, and then your app will open. So now you can see I've opened my app Cam Scanner. This is just an introduction of the app, what all features do. Then you can skip this upgrade option. Now after skipping this upgrade option, you will be redirected to a page like this, in which you can either register or you can sign in if you have registered, or if you don't want to register, you can just use this tab written as use now without even registering. So you need not register yourself onto this app. You can just use now tab and use the app. I'll just show you how to click on this button. So once you have clicked this, then the system will ask you if you want to allow Cam Scanner to access your photos, media, and files on your device. You have to allow, because finally what you want to do is you want to take photos from your mobile phone camera and then scan the paper and then make a PDF out of it. So you have to allow Cam Scanner to access your photo, media, and files. So we'll just allow this. Once we have allowed this, then we'll get this something like this window. So whenever we get a window like this, we might get a pop-up like this. They'll of course ask you to upgrade to premium. There's no need to upgrade to premium. The normal app will be sufficient for us. So you can just cancel this upgrade to premium option, and then we'll again click on the camera button. So now again, when we click on this camera button, Cam Scanner will again ask for permission to take pictures and record video. We'll of course have to allow this. Now as soon as we allow this, we'll get to somewhat like this. The camera will open, and then we will be able to click photos of the pages of our paper. Now one thing which you will have to remember, there are two modes for scanning. This is known as single mode and this is known as batch mode. You can see this red arrow. This batch mode means you can take several pages at a time. So you will have to click on this batch mode, and once you have clicked on this batch mode, you can scan the whole paper by clicking on photos one by one. So just select this batch mode. Mine is already selected as I have already am used to doing this. So mine is batch mode. If yours is single mode, then please click on this batch mode and then start clicking the photos via this button. So I'll just show you a demo. I have clicked few buttons. Whenever I'll click this button, this page numbers will increase. So page number 1, page number 2, and then page number 3. And after that, page number 4. Once we have scanned all the pages, like for example, we have 20 pages, 30 pages, we'll click on next button and then we'll just check whether all the pages are scanned properly or not. So after checking, you can click this right button and then the most important part. Once you have scanned it, you should name your answer sheet properly. So while naming it, a very general nomenclature for naming any paper in an open book examination is you write your name first and then underscore you write your roll number. And then underscore you write the subject for which you are giving the question paper. And after that underscore write the subject code for which you are giving the paper. Let's say it's the 9654, anything. And then press OK. So once you have renamed your file, then you can press OK, and then you can see, you will see somewhat like this. So here you will get all the pages, page number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, till total number of pages which you have scanned. So now it's a very simple process. We'll have only one more step. You need to press this button which says PDF. Now we have scanned our question paper answer sheet. Now we have to convert this scanned answer sheet into a PDF file. So we'll just have to press this PDF button now. So just press this PDF button and then you'll get a pop-up that all these features are available. Just go through the paper once. This is how your PDF file will look like. Once you have seen that yes, your PDF file is fine, then click on this share button. This is the final step. So when you click on the share button, you will get a pop-up like this in which you'll have many options. You can share your PDF file through WhatsApp, email, send to PC, Office, Bluetooth, anyone. Plus you'll get an option like this, save to local. So if you want to upload this paper on the university portal, then you need to save this paper into your mobile phone. So for this, what you need to do is you need to click on this save to local option. So when you click this save to local option, what Cam Scanner will do is Cam Scanner will save your PDF file in your mobile phone. So what we'll do is we'll click on this save to local option and then you will get some notification like this that the file has been saved in this particular storage location. So once you have saved the file, you can of course go to the university portal from where you downloaded the paper, and then once you have the PDF file, then you can upload that PDF file on the university portal. So this is a slight video by which you can understand how to scan the paper and convert it into a PDF file. So this is a very technically challenging task for many students and for many teachers to understand how can we scan and convert our paper into PDF file. So I think I have covered almost most of the part of technical challenges which we can face. If you have any doubts, then you can of course ask it here only, or you can email it to me directly on my email ID. I'll be happy to answer all your queries. That's it from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Piyush. Thank you so much. Very, very practical points and the small nitty-gritties involved in naming the file and going to the playing store and getting downloaded the Cam Scanner, etc., etc. These are very, very important points, and also hinting at the Government of India's guidelines for J&K and where the connectivity problem is serious. I'm sure that these are the very important practical issues and points which you have handled so nicely. Thank you so much. Now, I think Dr. Tanvi has already left. Dr. Tanvi, can you hear me? Dr. Tanvi, can you hear me? Dr. Alok, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I can hear. I was I got disconnected.
Oh,
yes.
Now, see, there are.
Now I've connected again.
Having said so, Dr. Tanvi, I was talking to Alokji that we have a very little space for experimentation, but these days kitchen is one important area where one can, and the men are always hard hit, in their experimentation in the kitchens. But sometimes they pass. That was on the lighter side. But this experiment with the open book examination, I think, you all three emphasized on converting the crisis into an opportunity, though it is imposed on us, but it is bad, and it will also bring a little bit of stress, and stress relieving exercises are also there available, and the counselors are also available. I think we all of us, and different kind of challenges. Now, you see, having said so, there are 4 or 5 different questions which have come up. I will repeat from the chat box. One is that
Excuse me, sir. We invite Dr. Anuradha also for 5 minutes to give some observation, and Dr. Harendri, yes, and Dr. Harendri for small observations, and then we can answer.
Dr. Anuradha, please, Dr. Anuradha, you are welcome. In fact, I was looking at the my technology is very bad, but I thought probably you have left the meeting. And if you are around, please, you are welcome. You are welcome. You are welcome.
Shall I start, or Dr.
Yeah, please. No, Dr. Anuradha, please, let's begin with you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Arora. After going through the 3 talks by Dr. Tanvi, Dr. Alok, and Dr. Piyush, I think from starting this process of open book examination, this has 6 steps. We start with the making of question paper. There are so many teachers I can see, those who are attending this webinar. So the making the question paper, we have to first think about thought thinking skill, critical thinking about this. We have to assess this. So keeping this in mind, the question paper should be framed in such a way that we can assess the critical thinking of the students. Now, next is for the students who are appearing in the exam. They have to first check their connectivity, whether they want to appear in the exam using their mobile or the laptop. For this, if they are using mobile, they have to check the mobile is the battery is there, and if they are using the laptop, there should not be any hardware or software problem. If these are not available with them, then they can go to the nearest CSC Common Service Center, and they can get the address of the CSC from Ministry of Electronic and Information Technology. But I advise all the students that please, before the due date of the examination, they must visit the CSC center either 1 day before or 2 days before, because in this pandemic, we have to take care of the social distancing. So if they go to the CSC on the same day or on the examination day, it may be possible there is no space. So they have to ensure this, that the service center which they are approaching for the exam, the service center can accommodate them. So next step is the downloading of question paper. Mr. Piyush has already explained about this, that how to download the question paper. Next is the attempting of question paper. So when they attempt the question paper, obviously, as per the guidelines of the university, it is subjective paper. So they have to keep in mind that they have plain A4 size sheets 10, 12, 15 seats because this is 2 hours paper, question paper. Next is submitting of question paper.
क्या हुआ?
We still
अभी चल रहा है वो तो. आप लोगों की मेहनत है.
So,
Radha, please continue.
Okay.
थोड़ी देर में कर ले, ये फिनिश कर ले, नहीं तो लटकता जाएगा. हाँ.
How to use CAM scanner and convert it into PDF and then submit the question paper to the university. Then comes the assessment of the answer script. See, Delhi University has students in lakhs. So the assessment of the answer script is also a challenging task. So for this, one can do that if suppose there is a paper, there is a convener of the paper setters committee. So all the answer scripts can go to the convener, and then convener can distribute the answer scripts to various examiners. Then the examiners evaluate the answer scripts and return it back with the award list to the convener. Then convener can forward the award list and the answer scripts to the e-answer scripts to the university. Then the result of the students can be compiled and it can be declared on time. So this is my observation about today's webinar.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Radha.
Harendri, sir, Dr. Harendri, because he has given open book exam in IIT. That is why we want to invite Harendri just to say a few words.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Harendri?
Dr. Harendri,
Can you
please.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. A very good evening to all of you. First, I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to speak on this platform. So, after hearing all these speakers, Dr. Tanvi, Dr. Alok, Dr. Piyush, and Dr. Anuradha Gupta, I just come to this conclusion that well, it is a wonderful idea, wonderful concept to introduce OBE to any university, but I think it needs a proper implementation. So, like I just give you all my personal experience. When I was in IIT Delhi in '94 in the second semester, so there was a teacher called Dr. Kundu. He used to teach us complex analysis. So through seniors, we came to know that he'll give us open book examination. So we are very happy that open book examination है, तो कुछ याद करने की जरूरत नहीं है, आप बस बुक लेके जाएंगे और वहाँ पर लिख देंगे, ठीक है. But while giving the examination, so we were all busy in turning up the pages of the books, this thing and that thing, and still he gave us the unlimited time. But still we were not able to finish the examination because we thought it is like open book examination and we just revise the concept over there. But my first experience was that it is not like that. It is not that simple. You know, it is rather more difficult to give open book examination in comparison to our traditional, conventional examination system. So I just suggest that we should give one practice paper to all the students before giving them the final examination. So just a practice paper to all of them. So that's it I want to say as from student point of view. But as now I have a teacher. I'm teaching for the last 24 years. So for teacher, as a teacher, I also find it very challenging to construct a question which basically checks the analytical skill or a comprehensive skill or the creating skill of the student. So, but I find it very interesting and very challenging to set this OBE examination. So I find it as a student, I find it very interesting, and as a teacher also. So let us take this a challenge, this OBE as a challenge to rediscover our new opportunities. So that's it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas. But some of the things that you are talking about, they are already covered by University of Delhi guidelines. They will be giving a mock test, and it will be open at least for a week or so, before the final exam. I think quite a few things they have already taken care of. The probably University of Delhi has thought over it very critically, because most of them, they have come from the science background and probably
yes.
IIT background. That's what I understand.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, Dr. Tanvi and Dr. Alok, we have 4 different questions, and I'll quickly repeat. One is, which is qualitatively different. What is the scope of thought-driven project? Is it a better as compared to OBC? One, and if this uncertainty prevails, how to optimize the open book exams, etc. And third is that making the question paper is a very, very difficult challenge, particularly for the teachers force, and then it has certain implications for evaluation. And fourth is that to what extent this can be made OBE can be made the regular feature of the assessment systems. These are the 4 questions which I could see. And Tanvi, if you want to take the lead, please take the lead and answer.
So the first question I couldn't understand. Can you just?
They say that. Do you think that thought-driven project is better than the open book examination system?
I think they're different. They're basically they address different category of students. Now, to an undergrad student, and when the university has more than, I think, 500 or so students in just for giving a particular course, then evaluating them on the basis of projects, that's not, I don't think that it can be a proper system of evaluation. It can be a part of evaluation, but not the whole evaluation. It cannot take the place of the end semester examinations. So when we are talking of end semester examinations and when we are talking of a university system, I think either the closed book examination or the open book examinations, I see these two as the better options. Even the take-home examination, I am a little critical about when we are looking at undergrads and the number of students that we are catering to.
Yeah, you can see the sir. Yeah, please see the questions on the Excel. Kindly see the questions. Yeah, I'm sharing the screen.
Arunji, can you want to add something?
Kindly see the questions.
Arunji, you want to add something?
Yes, I think it actually depends on the context of the research project that the person is asking. So if this is a research project that is related to, let's say, a traditional practical course, then I think I'm going to agree with Tanvi that is not a very feasible option. But then if that is related to developing a research project where a student can ask a question and ask a question from his own side, and perhaps present some alternative methodologies to carry out those experiments, and then expected results, something that we as a faculty write for research proposals, then that could be a feasible option.
Yeah. Anybody else? Dr. Vinu, I've already gone through all the questions which are already there in the chat box, so you don't worry. Please don't worry.
Okay, sir.
I think I have said all the 4 questions, and there are only 4 or 5 sets of questions which I've already said. And if there is any other question, friends are welcome. If there is any other question, friends are welcome. But I don't.
Yeah, so you can see the questions are there on the Excel, sir. You can see the questions from here.
Yeah,
it is coming on the screen. Can you see the screen?
I can see the screen. I can see the chat box.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So
chat.
Yeah. So, for example, first question is the general question. So this question can ask any expert and answer this question.
No, they have answered it.
They have answered it.
They have answered. Thought-driven project is better than OBC. The mock test experience, uncertainty, and how the optimizing can be done. They have already started. Anyway, I think let's let's go. And we move on to you now. And before you close it up, once again, I take this opportunity to thank you, all the 5. In fact, we started with 3. In fact, actually, we started with 1. So all the 5. And I thank on behalf of the college and on my personal behalf, and also on behalf of my the committee led by Dr. Sarla and Venu. Thank you so much for having spared your precious time for all of, and very, very important practical tips, and also having the basic theoretics of the open book examination. And Dr. Tanvi particularly putting all kind of perspectives and challenges together. And thank you so much. Venu, to you now.